be talking to.
Mhm.
Good afternoon. It's always strange to be talking to a bunch of people that you can't see, but we're all used to it. I want to invite Judith, if there's anything that comes up, to just interrupt me. Otherwise, I can just talk really fast and no one will catch anything that I talk about. So the OERI is really not an external provider. We're actually internal, since we're part of the California Community Colleges as being part of the statewide academic senate. I want to begin by the fact that we're talking about support for ZTC, and the OERI is all about OER, but because we are fellow faculty, we're very clear about the fact that not every course is going to get to ZTC using OER, but OER is the most sustainable way to get to ZTC. And so the statewide academic senate's approach is that where OER is possible, that is the preferred approach. And the chancellor's office has also made it clear that that is the preferred approach to achieving ZTC when that is an option. And so just want to begin by saying that while we are all about OER, we are also looking out there and are aware of the other ways of getting to ZTC, and have also worked to sort of identify those things and share those with faculty across the state. We are all about connecting with the state and understanding what's out there. And so one of the things that we have to offer everyone is collections of resources by disciplines, vetted by discipline faculty, and so forth. And then we also have discipline leads for a wide list of disciplines that people can go to and ask questions of. And in case there are faculty on the call who'd be interested in getting involved in work, we are currently looking for some missing discipline leads that we don't currently have for the upcoming year. So I'd like to put that out there, and you can find out all information about our discipline leads at tinyurl.com/DL, the number 4 OERI. We like our tiny URLs. So just to give you a sense of the collections that we have to help faculty find OER to adopt or adapt or remix, whatever they choose to do. We have curated collections by discipline, by California State University, GE, and now, of course, by Cal GETC. And then also by transfer model curriculum. So if you're trying to sort of assess how hard would it be to get a particular discipline to ZTC using OER, you could go to the OER transfer model curriculum page and see, for example, that basically for psychology, all of the courses in the major, you have at least one of the options for every requirement that could be ZTC by way of OER. We also have organized by CID. And then if you want a quick look at where we've identified gaps in OER availability, we have a collection that just looks at here are the gaps that we see, and that we really hope the ZTC program will help to fill. Professional development is what we're doing all the time. We have a ton of webinars already archived. We are offering webinars through the summer based on needs that we identified through working with some of the people who applied for acceleration grants. For example, we start tomorrow a 3-part series on ADAPT, which I'm sure Delmar will talk about because it's something within the LibreTexts system. And so we really have looked to see what's out there and useful to our faculty, and then how do we help them to use it. So we actually are out there providing training around elements of the LibreTexts platform and just working with the LibreTexts in general. So if you go to our webinars page, you can see what's coming up, but you can also search all of our archived webinars. And then we always encourage people, if there's something that we're not doing that you'd like to see us do, let us know, and we'll see about doing it. We have also supported the creation of OER, and so also on our website you can find the resources that we have created. And part of what this has meant is that we have facilitated OER development sort of from beginning to end, and anyone who's interacted with us knows one of the things that we ask for is faculty to come together from different districts, so that we don't have just one person or one college's or one district's view of what a resource should look like. So we're really focused on taking that statewide perspective. By the way, those of you who came on camera, we appreciate it. It's nice to see more faces. Always like to recognize that because it makes it much more human. And so you can check out the resources that we have. And of course, everything is open and editable. And most of our things are in LibreTexts so that you can readily go in there and edit them. So because we have worked on supporting projects, we have sort of set things up where we have people who provide project facilitation. One of the things that I know a lot of our colleges are using are our two self-paced courses, OER Basics and OER Accessibility Basics, to get their faculty up to speed around OER. When we are facilitating a project, we also provide accessibility support. We have our own DEI framework, the IDEA framework, that we now have someone to provide guidance with guidance around using that. And then we provide training in a bunch of different platforms. We have lots of webinars on all of these things, but also for colleges that are working on doing their ZTC work and they actually need help, we can also provide those services to colleges for cost. And so if you don't have the expertise at your college for something, it's something that we can bring in. And so it's a way, if you're sitting there going, how is my college going to do this? We don't have the bandwidth. We have money now to do stuff, but we don't have the people. We can help. And so wanted to share that because we haven't done a great job of advertising it. But again, you can find it at our at tinyurl.com/capital OERI dash capital S and then UPPORT. You can find the things that we have, and we have a flyer that sort of lays it all out, and that should say 500 to 5,000, not 500 to 5 something. So we basically offer lots of services, and this is sort of like the sort of smallest, lowest level. But if you're sitting there going, gosh, we need help with accessibility reviews, we need help with content review, we need to find somebody to help us do this. Those are all the kinds of things that we can do. We can leverage the connections that we have throughout the state to help you. And then we can also come in and provide you with the help that you're needed. So just wanted to put that out there, even though we continue to do a whole lot of work for all the colleges just as part of our general work. And I knew I didn't have a lot of time, so I went really fast, which I generally do anyways. Our website, ASCCC-OERI.org. Any general questions can come to us at OERI@ASCCC.org. And I will also throw my email in the chat. If anyone has a question and they want to follow up with me, I would be welcome to talk to them. And I will go ahead and leave that and let us move on to the next person.
Michelle, thank you so much. ASCCC provides such amazing resources, and they're right in California to help the community colleges. So Michelle, appreciate it. And we'll move on to Delmar. And then again, we should have time. I hope we'll have time at the end of the presentations for questions in case you have some for Michelle or our other presenters. Delmar, let me let you go ahead.
Thank you very much. Do I get Michelle's extra time?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me take the screen here. So it's a pleasure to virtually be here. I recognize a lot of names and faces here, so it's a pleasure to present on the LibreTexts project. Let's see here. So while I guess I'm technically an external provider, LibreTexts is co-run out of the University of California, Davis, where I'm a professor of chemistry. So it's not that external to the system that's out there. If this were a class, I would ask the students in order to write one thing down. And that one thing is this URL right there. I won't give you a lot of URLs like Michelle did. This is the one that will actually work from everything that you need. And I'll put in, and I have already put it into the chat there. So feel free to grab and run with that. And this right here, this Launchpad, this link that goes to the Launchpad is a map of the LibreVerse. So the LibreVerse is what I'm going to be discussing today. And it's essentially an ecosystem of different technologies in order to address the overall goals of what we want to be able to do. And I phrase our goals in a variety of different ways. The primary goal that I have is to take the place of commercial products in the classroom. This is both personal issue because I'm a faculty member and I use these resources and I don't like to have the students abused by it, but it's also a bigger picture issue that we're trying to address. So the LibreVerse, when you actually go to the Launchpad, has a series of applications to address the different aspects that commercial publishers typically provide to faculty. And I oftentimes liken this to putting golden handcuffs onto faculty. That means giving textbooks, that means giving homework infrastructure, that means providing interactive capabilities, course support, and other sorts of things. You need multiple technologies in order to handle multiple needs. No one technology is able to handle everything. In fact, it's actually an exercise in futility in order to try to go about doing that. So let me again go back to the core values of what we're doing. So anyone who's actually interacted with us for a while understands the way we operate as a not-for-profit entity is to recognize and to push that the belief that students are not a market to exploit, nor to make an unreasonable profit off of them. Students are part of the economic ecosystem, so understand that there is an interest in order to be able to address financial incentives. However, unreasonable is the level of which I have a problem with that. So what we pursue is mission over money. And this is particularly important because in the OER community, there are organizations that care about the mission, and there are organizations that care about the money and hide the fact that the money is actually the important aspect behind it. So I encourage you, when you look at other external providers, in order to pay careful attention about why people and organizations are doing what they're doing and seeing if they actually align with your interests and long-term goals. So we care more about this than we care about that and such. So the mission statement that I oftentimes give in these presentations is this 30-word snippet that's right here. So we're implementing a community-level platform for the construction, curation, adoption of OER that's comprehensive and can be curated at multiple levels. So each of these three bolded words, these three C's, are particularly important in terms of dictating our big picture of how we operate. Each of the words, or the principal words in the parentheses, the construction, curation, adoption, is what we believe is necessary in order to be able to pursue our goals at the instrumental level. And you'll oftentimes, when you look at other projects, find that many of those four are not actually realized. So community means anybody and everybody who has an interest in order to contribute to our mission. We will accept with open arms, build an infrastructure, and push it forward. This is not a vanity project. It's not a one-size-fits-all project. It's important in order to cultivate a community in order to address all the needs that are out there. OER doesn't really need to be defined much, although defining it can take a lot of time. For the sake of this conversation, OER, I'm using it to mean it's freely available for students and freely available for faculty in order to edit, although there's a lot more nuances associated with it than just those terms. Comprehensive. So while the LibreTexts project was born out of a chemistry project called the ChemWiki, and we can all agree that chemistry is the best project or the best field that we should be studying out there, I also recognize that there are other fields of interest. So we follow a no gap left behind policy. So we have 16 independently operating libraries that hosts close to 1 million pages of OER content. It's meant in order to try to address as many gaps as possible. So we follow a no gap left behind policy, but there are lots of gaps out there when you deal with the whole scope from K-12 to primary, or to secondary to post-second, well, to post-secondary to even graduate level, which is the interest that I get exposed to, again, at our one institution. We also follow no tech left behind policy, which basically means that the technology that we're constructing is meant in order to distribute what we refer to as the textbook of the future. The textbook of the future is a textbook of engagement. It's a textbook of technology. And I don't entirely know more than what the textbook is because it's the future. But we go through an effort in order to be able to bring into the LibreVerse multiple technologies, open source technologies, as become available, such that faculty can capitalize and use them without dealing with the infrastructure and the issues and pains associated with being able to implement them on their own or on their own campus. So we follow a no tech left behind policy, which has been really provides a great resource to people who use our project. And last, our infrastructure is meant to be curated. So that means that we have a dynamic living library, the opposite of a dynamic living library, where you have the ability in order to customize and update as necessary, is a static dead library. So when you're actually looking at repositories of content, we have referatories, which largely are expanded library guides and links to external content. We have repositories which host OER content. They may have editing capabilities, but oftentimes they are not actively curated. We have curation boards in order to constantly update the content on our platform. I liken us to being a curatatory trademark. I'm the only one who uses that term, but essentially we recognize that the buck doesn't stop at publishing. The buck, it never stops and continues cycles. Anyone in academia understands that. And that is a key aspect that defines what we are doing and how we operate, because it would be much easier for us if we just didn't care about hosting the content and just host it and then run off. Since we started in 2008, early 2008, we delivered 1.3 billion page views of content. The peak of the week, which is typically Wednesday, traffic-wise, we deliver about 1 million page views to about 700,000 students worldwide. And it makes us the most popular OER textbook infrastructure on the internet today. We have somewhere in the order of 1 million pages of OER content. That's probably an old number. I'm pretty sure it's higher than that right now. About 800,000 pages of that in English. The other ones are in Spanish, Ukrainian, and a hodgepodge of other languages as part of our global scope of things. In our question corpus for our ADAPT homework system that Michelle mentioned a moment ago, we have somewhere in the order of 250,000 questions, and it's growing rapidly. And we have a goggle of collections of pages in aka books, repositories, other things like that, which is somewhere in the order of about 3,000 textbooks that are out there. Some are customized or some are essentially curated. That's put in place. So now to the actual issue at hand, which is the LibreVerse. So the LibreVerse, again, involves multiple technologies that coexist, that interact with each other in order to advance the mission that I mentioned before. The core of the LibreVerse are our libraries. Those are the 16 independently operating wiki technologies. We chose wiki technology because it was, when we started in 2008, the best technology for large-scale collaborative construction efforts. And today, it's the best technology for large-scale collaborative construction efforts, which is the goal of what we're trying to do. So it represents the hub, and then we have these other technologies that augment those textbooks. I'll be talking about the ADAPT system and the Commons Conductor system, and the other ones we'll get about. So when it comes to the actual libraries, how do we operate? So I mentioned that we're a curatatory. We're building a central repository, and the goal that we have here is to try to address what I refer to as fragmentation of the OER landscape. You can find OER or links to OER in a wide variety of different places. However, to be able to remix the term in order to take content and generate essential new book that's customized for your own services, you need to be able to find the content. You need to be able to standardize the content in order to be able to generate the final product. We do that automatically in our infrastructure instead of having it distributed in a variety of places. It helps to facilitate a lot of things. First, obviously finding and facilitating the construction of remixing. It also helps to facilitate curation. So you have less benefits that someone else has done on a different book that just basically don't get propagated back to the corpus of content out here. So we centralize our content, we standardize our content, we make it interconverted, we build collections like books. This provides maximal flexibility, it provides maximal curatability. Otherwise, we have a situation of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that hurts me. It hurts me as an OER advocate, it hurts me as a faculty member in OERGC. So we're essentially building a bigger bucket of Legos such that the instructor who wants to build their own book is limited only by their imagination once it gets big enough in order to be able to build that. So in order to facilitate that, when you're navigating through 1 million pages of content, we built a tool called the OER Remixer. The Remixer is a graphical user interface where you can just basically go through these millions of pages of content on these libraries and drag and drop and build your own book really quickly. The intent of that is if you remove the barrier in order to remix, you remove the barrier in order to adopt OER, and this has proved quite successful out there. So if you go to any of our libraries, and this right here is a snapshot of the chemistry library, we've all agreed that chemistry is the best field that people should be studying out there. Content can be stored either in our central bookshelves, which we curate, or in campus bookshelves where individual campuses can curate and customize their own resources and propagate them that way. So that provides the flexibility with the benefits of, or the fidelity of a centralized infrastructure and such. We distribute our content in a variety of different ways. While I said we're the most popular online OER infrastructure out there for textbooks, we also provide the opportunity for any book that gets compiled on a resource in order to get a physical copy. So we act as an intermediary to Lulu Express, and you can get the book immediately after it gets compiled. You can download PDFs. You can embed into your learning management systems. You can get the print files. We will have the EPUB infrastructure updated this summer. We can embed into Raspberry Pi boxes in order to be able to distribute our corpus to developing countries or populations that have limited access to high-speed internet. And this summer, we'll also introduce LibreTexts in a phone, where you can download multiple books onto your phone with a bit more power than what the EPUB infrastructure provides. So, curation. I mentioned curation a bit in terms of defining who we are. Curation is facilitated by a series of bots that we use in order to go through pages in order to update them. The two bots that we have that we use a lot are the Ali bot and the Brad bot. The Ali bot is named after accessibility, A11Y, and that goes through content that people have constructed and then facilitate the building of new resources. Making sure that what they've constructed is as close to up to date to WCAG 2.1 compatibility that's out there. The Brad bot is a bot that goes through and updates pages in order to make it pretty. It's named after Brad Pitt because Brad Pitt is pretty. And that again facilitates standardization. We have a real-time accessibility checker so that when people are editing content on the pages, they can actually check for some of the bigger issues associated with accessibility. And this is necessary in order to help facilitate, again, the construction of accessible resources, which is what everyone should be doing in the OER community. The Commons and Conductor. This technology is a technology that we use for two aspects. The front-facing is a cataloging system that provides a catalog to the corpus of content that we have. We have two flavors of that. One is our central catalog, and the other one is when a campus joins our consortium, which many campuses have, including the OERI infrastructure. They get their own branded campus commons that they can use in order to showcase their resources. Those resources include books, collections, homework. We have assets connected to it, so you can do searches on images, homework, and other things like that. The backend is a project management tool in order to facilitate the construction of OER. It is the only OER dedicated project management tool to my recollection that provides the ability in order to alert when new OER is generated in our platform, facilitate harvesting requests that's taking existing OER outside of our platform and bringing it in, facilitates adoption requests, peer reviews, communications both within teams and between teams, accessibility reviews, and a handful of other things. It's freely available for anyone in order to access, although it's most optimized if you use the LibreTexts infrastructure for building your books. You can review it at commons.libretext. This is a snapshot of the Los Rios Commons campus commons and 92 books that they have on their corpus. This is the back end for a beginning healthcare OER manual that we supported a few years ago, showing some of the organization that's involved behind that. So the last thing that I want to talk about before Judith throws a rock through my Zoom window.
Yeah, you're just about out of time, Delmar, but yeah, if you can wrap it up, thank you.
Is the ADAPT homework system. And Michelle mentioned this before. This was funded by the state of California in order to provide a homework platform, initially for chemistry, but is expanded into many different fields. In fact, the most popular field on ADAPT is Spanish as a second language, which hurts me to say, but it's actually true. It's freely available for anyone to tap into. It's a massive question bank, again, 250,000 pages of content. I don't know any faculty member that does not want to have access to a new question bank. It involves multiple auto-graded technologies. It involves open-ended question technologies, including WebWork, iMath.AS, which is the MyMath.A, which is MyOpenMath, and a few other technologies, H5P and such. You can embed questions in your textbook to make the textbook of the future. Students can access ADAPT directly. We have a phone app that students can use in their classroom in order to take the place of iClickers and other in-class systems, and they can all pass scores back to learning management systems that are out there. We have a learning analytics infrastructure, which I don't have time in order to discuss in detail, but the key point is to be able to identify how students interact with the books, how students interact with the homework system, demonstrating if they are compliant with the learning objectives for the class and learning outcomes. I'm going to skip over the studio, skip over the academy, and just end with the mission statement again. We're implementing a community-built platform for the construction, curation, adoption of OER that's comprehensive and can be curated at multiple levels. We're very excited with where we've gone over the last 16 years, and I encourage you to take a look at it if you haven't been exposed to it already. So thank you very much.
Delmar, thank you so much. I hope that everyone's getting the sense of the amazing supports that are available to the community colleges as you engage in your ZTC degree development. Mindy, let me go ahead and turn it over to you then.
Thank you. I'm not. Hi, everyone. Hello, I'm Mindy New Farmer. I'm the VP of Services for ISKME. Let me share my slides. Okay, everyone can see those. All right, so I work for ISKME. It's the Institute for the Study of Knowledge Management in Education. We are a nonprofit founded in 2002, initially as a research institute looking at how teachers perform continuous improvement on curriculum over time, which lended itself nicely, as you can imagine, to the OER movement. Through that work and through funding from the Hewlett Foundation in 2007, we launched OER Commons. So if we're all sharing our mission statements, here's ISKME's. We work to make learning and knowledge sharing participatory, equitable, and open because we believe that the development of equitable and inclusive learning environments will contribute to the creation of a more just society. And some ways that we do this is to support institutions, whether they're our partners or folks that come to us for assistance to help them make their OER more discoverable. We offer ways for faculty and librarians to find high quality OER through metadata generation, aligning resources to course ID information, curation, development of our hubs on OER Commons. We support collaboration and coordination both across institutions. We work with a lot of systems or within institutions and across departments. So really trying to help folks find those champions, build those coalitions that you need to have a successful OER initiative. We do coaching and consulting with administrators and faculty to build leadership skills and capacity. And through our research, we're currently looking to understand better how OER impacts student learning outcomes. So overall, we see this as strengthening OER ecosystems to help make learning more equitable. Oops, there we go. So this is kind of an overview of what we see as the educational ecosystem for open ed. You've got your sort of libraries and software where you house all of your resources, the metadata and content curation, which is needed for discovery, the research to understand your context and your landscape, training and professional learning to really build capacity and understanding around the value and processes of open education, and then thought partnership, which is the work we do to help our partners sort of roadmap their initiatives, figure out what they're going to do, but also doing work like developing playbooks or fellowships, just lots of different ways for folks to kind of map out their strategies. So I'm going to start with the digital libraries and curation, which is really the discovery piece. I'd say it's been about 4 or 5 years since we launched the California Community College Hub with funding from the Michelson Foundation. And I will put these links in chat. They're all in my slide deck, so I'll share those in the chat and make them available for you there right now, so you can follow along if you want to. And we also work with my librarians on our team, work with a bunch of different content providers to ensure that we're indexing resources from multiple sources such as Pressbooks and OpenStax, MIT OpenCourseWare, Skills Commons, really trying to make OER Commons a place where you can find resources all in one place. We'll point you right back to the site where they were sourced so that you can get to the originator and find the resources that you need. We also try to kind of raise the visibility of those resources. We have provider pages outlining the resources that we've indexed from a specific provider. We curate collections around topic areas. And then again, we have the hubs. And with the hubs on OER Commons in particular, you can begin to see the curation work that some of our partners have done too. So you're not recreating the curation wheel either. You're able to benefit from the work that all of these other organizations have done. I've also included a link here to our collection policy for OER Commons so that you can really understand what goes into the decision-making process of resources that are added to our collection. And that's something that we just published in the last 2 months or so. So that's a big deal for us. slides. There we go. So this is what the top of the California Community College Hub looks like. I just wanted to share it with you to kind of give you some orientation around that. A lot of work was done on this hub to create groups on OER Commons, sort of like collaborative spaces for each of the colleges in California. We've also got groups real specific to discipline areas if folks want to do cross-institutional collaboration. And then another piece of work that we did to support this was really trying to build on the work that Michelle and the OERI team did by curating those collections into collections on OER Commons. So we've got collections around these high-level course areas organized into these 4 groupings. And then within those, you can really dig into the specific California IDs to find the resources that have been aligned to those. So we really appreciate the work that you all have done with your discipline leads, Michelle, to curate these resources and make them discoverable. And so we kind of wanted to just share that as well to make it, again, something that folks can benefit from on OER Commons if they're using this hub. This is just to give you a sense of what I mean. So the obviously political science is a big discipline and there's lots of courses within that. So here you can see each of these different courses. If you click there, you would see the resources that are aligned to each of those within this collection from political science. From the training and professional learning side of things, we see professional learning not only as a way to upskill faculty and to help people understand the value of OER and kind of how to do OER, but also a way to build awareness about it. So getting people to know that you're doing this work that maybe, that people on your campus aren't all aware that this is happening. So doing training and offering webinars or professional learning academies is a great way to kind of build that awareness and get people kind of starting to do a little bit of the work, dipping their toes in it. One of the ways that we do that at ISKME is we offer these academies that are sort of progressive, based first on kind of course concepts of OER, and then building on that to looking at content evaluation and curation, and then going from there into authorship. So giving some folks a nice sort of grounded, scaffolded progression through the workflows of open education. And then we typically use the groups feature on OER Commons to create a space for those participants to share, to respond to discussion prompts, to share resources, etc. And then make those available so other folks can benefit from them as well. These are a couple of examples. We've done some trainings at both Compton and Skyline colleges here in California, and we created these groups. They're on the hub, and this is where we invited all of the participants to join, to share resources. They're able to add these folders where they can start to curate resources, kind of using their own sort of mental models for how they want to organize things. So it just becomes a nice sandbox for folks to use to begin to share materials. Most recently, we just completed doing an accessibility training modules in Canvas through a grant from the Michelson Foundation. We started with asking folks to take the Academic Senate course, and then building on that, we found that if folks don't understand OER and don't have that grounding, they get a little bit lost in a training about how to remediate their OER for accessibility. But we just finished this first round of it, and we're going to take these modules and put them on Canvas Commons to make them available to folks, and we'll be building them out in Open Author as well so that folks can remix them and reuse them as needed. So in the thought partnership piece here, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the work that we do with partners, sort of helping them figure out what is their plan for making people aware of their initiative, for guiding them through an OER shift in practice, for understanding how to curate. So kind of what is your overall strategy is what we often work with a lot of our partners to do, starting from attending and facilitating kickoff events all the way through to building out a repository and continuing to support their faculty. So we, of course, love to talk about collaboration all the time. So among faculty, among administrators and librarians, and among institutions. So, for the purposes of this call, I know there's not a ton of folks here, but, thinking about how different institutions, community colleges can actually work together, you might get more bang for your buck if you're able to collaborate with other people in your district or region that might want to work with you on these projects. I did want to do a little bit of a case study about Arizona because they've been one of our great partners. They the Yavapai College in rural Arizona got a 2021 FIPSI grant for 6 community colleges to do an OER initiative. And basically to do this, they created a consortium of those institutions to collaborate around creating a hub, doing professional learning, having a kickoff event, doing a ton of curation and ongoing professional learning, as well as a robust faculty grant program around adopting, adapting, and creating an OER. So Megan Crossfield, who led this initiative, has been amazing and has actually expanded it now from being those 6 colleges to being statewide in Arizona. So now it's officially OER Arizona, because, you know, OER practitioners love to throw OER into words in really weird ways. But what I really liked here about this was from her website about their OER network, is kind of their distinction between coordination and collaboration. So thinking about how coordination is a way to avoid the duplication of work. You know, so many folks are like trying to do the same thing, but not coordinating with each other, and it's kind of inefficient. And then collaboration, obviously, is folks working together, whether within an institution or across institutions. So I just appreciated the way that she kind of framed that on her site. These are their collections, which you can find on the OER Arizona Hub. So these are resources that have been adapted or created in Arizona and are in use at their schools. So I just thought it was it's a very simple interface and not a ton of resources, not overwhelming folks, but just showing them what's being used. So kind of getting toward the end here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our partner network at ISKME, because we have probably about 60 different kinds of organizations, different organizations that we work with, from state education agencies to individual institutions to library consortia. And for us, it's really about kind of bringing folks together, getting them to collaborate with one another, to talk to one another. So we have regular community of practice calls where we want folks to share the work that they're doing, the initiatives that they have, their best practices, things that maybe didn't work that well, maybe they did work well, just all the different work that they're doing and what they learned. And then we've also begun to actually just launched what we call the OER Exchange, which is links all of our microsites, of which we have about 20, and OER Commons in an interface where the administrators of those libraries can share collections of OER with each other and subscribe to them so that they can begin to grow their resource collections and have them regularly updated. So really trying to create that network of OER to make it discoverable and not siloed across these different sites. Again, we continue to offer professional learning. I don't know if any of you were in the accessibility trainings we did with CAST, but we did those nationwide as a free offering where we were doing, again, OER remediation for accessibility training, and we'll continue to do more of those. But always attendees of our trainings know that we're always asking folks to talk to each other, to share with each other and reflect on their work. So that's just part of the culture that we try and drive when we do this work, really around the partnering and collaborating. This was from our most recent partner summit. We invited all of our hub and microsite partners together to do a virtual summit where they did showcases of their work and shared a bit of their projects, which was always fun to do, to have people give them an opportunity to talk about their work in this nice sort of intimate setting. And I've got links to all of these things right here. So there'll be on the one of the last slides in the slide deck that I shared with you. I've got the Community College Hub, OER Arizona. I did include as well OER Texas as a nod partially to Judith, but ISKME has done a ton of work in Texas, and they've really done an amazing work. It's kind of a top-down approach, so different than California, but really amazing work of just running this OER initiative. They've got some fabulous institutional hubs that they've got on their microsite, as well as some that are project specific. So some just good examples of different ways that you can do this work. And then I also included the link to the 2024 Partner Summit hub. So I want to thank you all for being here with us today. If you want to talk more, my email is in the slides, and you know, on this little wheel, any one of these entry points work for us. So we're eager to talk to you about however we can help you and work with you to develop your initiatives. So thank you so much.
Cindy, thank you. Again, just some wonderful supports that are available to the colleges in your ZTC work and beyond, I would argue. Our presenters were so efficient in their times. so much for that, because you've just got so much great information to convey. So we've got time for questions, about 15 minutes, a little more than that. If anybody has any, please feel free to put them in chat, or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask directly. While we're waiting for questions to come in, just to let everybody know, our next and final external service provider webinar, if you don't mind me using that term for now, we may have to change it, is going to be on June the 18th. And let me just put that information here into chat so you can join us next week if you want. We had one last week as well, and that recording and those slides will be up on the same website, or same web page, I should say. I'm just always so taken with the collaborative, generous spirit that these organizations have. Of course, it's inherent in the nature of the sharing that goes on with open education, but still the willingness to work together, the recognition that it's crucial to work together. And I'm glad you kind of mentioned those efficiencies that are important, that we don't want to be reinventing the wheel, doing the same things that each are doing, so that sharing becomes even more important. Thanks for the nod to Texas. Mindy and I have worked together in other capacities before, and she knows I'm based in Austin, Texas. So just wait just one more minute to see if any other questions, comments come through. Okay, sorry. Chrissy, no problem. We completely understand. And I myself have enjoyed the photo of the dog, because I'm a huge dog lover. So.
Well, hopefully your notes and then the slides will go together nicely.
Well, if we don't have any questions, see you next week. Great. Katrina, thank you so much. I would just want to thank our presenters today for the fantastic information, for joining us, and for their ongoing and just extensive support that they can offer California community colleges and beyond. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and thank you attendees for joining us. Don't hesitate to reach out to the TAC program if there's some way that we can support you. Thanks everybody. Please take good care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.